What's up, guys? Welcome back to the videos. Alright, so this is going to be part 2 of replacing or rebuilding those fuel injectors and getting the intake manifold all cleaned up and stuff like that. So as you saw in the last video, I had to clean up a bunch of stuff that was like stuck underneath the intake manifold. Just a bunch of like grime and grease and oil that's built up over probably 30 years. So as you saw, I got most of it out, but now I end up painting all the top of the block just black, just so it's all nice and clean. I put like 3 or 4 coats on there, so it should be pretty good now. Yeah, that's like my ghetto rig of trying not to get it on everything else, but it worked out pretty good. So I'm just letting that dry up. This is what I end up using. It's caliber paint, but it's high temperature, as you can see, 900 degrees, which it's what I wanted. Because I already had it for calipers that I used before, so might as well just use it on the top of the block, and then because it's such a high temp that it'll work good, because if it gets hot and whatnot, it won't get up to 900 degrees, but like I said, it's a good paint to use. And yeah, so that's all good. Now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna work on the lower intake manifold. I gotta get this all cleaned up. I'm gonna get that all cleaned up. This is the water neck with the heater core pipe that goes to the back. I already started cleaning this up a little bit. As you can see, it did look a lot worse than before. I need to take this pipe off, replace these 2 gaskets on here, which I already have, and then take out the thermostat. I'm gonna replace the thermostat, replace that gasket that goes around there, and then repaint this, and then I'll end up putting this back in the car. I still also need to take out this stud right here, or this bolt that broke off. I still haven't took it out yet. I kept pouring some PB Blaster in there, and I tried getting a crescent wrench on there and turning it off, but it's still pretty stuck, so I kind of keep putting more PB Blaster on there, and hopefully it'll come out eventually. But it's kind of being a pain in the ass. But once this is all dry, I'll take this all off, and then you guys can kind of see what it's going to look like. My parts should be coming in maybe tomorrow. It'll be the gaskets for the lower intake manifold, and then all my hoses and stuff like that for my radiator. Also, I believe I have some O-rings as well coming in to replace where all the injectors go into. So I got all those, and then there's a few more parts that are coming in as well. But I'm gonna end up tackling this first, and then I'll show you the process that I get done, and yeah, and then I'll probably end up, I don't know if this is gonna clean up good enough. I might end up just painting this like a silver color or aluminum color too. But we'll see after I get it all cleaned up and see how it looks like at the end. But yeah, I'm gonna start on this, and then I'll update you in a bit. Okay, so before we start doing all the cleaning and painting on all that stuff, I just want to show you guys that I did get that bolt out. So here's the bolt right here, and yeah, it was extremely stuck in there. It was basically like just rusted / like welded in there. It came out obviously right there, and so what I had to do was I had to take my torch and basically heat it up quite a bit. Not too much to where it's gonna warp my heads, because my heads are aluminum, just enough to get all that stuff all broken loose and stuff like that. And I did spray it for PB Blaster for quite some time, and then it finally, I just kind of kept wiggling it back and forth to break it free, and it finally broke free, and then it came out. So now I don't have to worry about that problem anymore, and I can actually clean up that area. And yeah, so this will all go back together nicely now, and I don't have to drill into it or anything like that to try to get that bolt out. So I got lucky, and the heat works pretty good. So yeah, if you ever have any bolts that are stuck up, always try some like heat, just a little bit of torch it for a little bit, and then try, check it, see if it'll come out. If it doesn't, torch it just a little bit more, and then it should come out. But anyways, so that's all done. Obviously all this is all cleaned up like you saw before, and I'm I'm just going to end up cleaning up all the lower intake manifold and upper intake manifold and clean up all the bolts and everything, and then we're going to throw everything back together. Okay, so I took that heater core pipe that runs across with where the thermostat housing is, took it all apart, been cleaning up all the surfaces where all the gaskets meet. I have all brand new gaskets for these. I razor bladed all of them. I just need to get some sandpaper just to make it nice and smooth. So they're not quite done yet. And then I'm gonna clean up on the inside of this too with that brush. Same thing within here. But yeah, it's all turned out pretty good. Also, all the bolts were kind of rusted and just had a lot of crap in the in all the threads. So I've been cleaning up all the bolts as well, like always. So all the bolts will go in nice and good, and there won't be any stuff stuck in the threads. So, because this bolt right here was completely rusted, and now it looks pretty good. And all I'm using is just basically this wire brush right here with my rotary drill, and yeah, it takes some time, but it's definitely worth it because, you know, the bolt actually looks better, but then it cleans up all the threads and stuff, so you don't like accidentally when you're putting it in, you don't, you know, cross thread it or anything like that. It'll just go in smoothly, and it'll work good. So here's some more of the rusted bolts, but once I get done with them, they'll all look pretty good. And the thermostat, I think the thermostat was stuck open, so I'm pretty sure, I mean, this might be the original one, it might not, but yeah, I don't know, it might have been stuck open. Not quite sure, but I have a new one anyways, so that will definitely get replaced. And here's all the gaskets for all the hose, or all the pipes, and then this is the thermostat. But I'm gonna keep working, and then I'll move on to that when I get done with this. Okay, so this is what all the bolts look like now. You saw earlier they're super rusty. Now they're all nice and clean. And then here's one of the bigger bolts. So now they should thread through pretty good. And there's no more rust on them to eat the bolts up, so they shouldn't get stuck anymore. But, so now I'm done with all that. I don't have any sandpaper with me to get all surfaces, so I'm gonna have to go buy that later. This will all get painted as well, so that, just like the aluminum color is what I'm gonna paint it, just so it looks all brand new and stuff, with all the bolts looking good and stuff like that. But now I'm going to tackle this first, and then I'll get the lower intake manifold. Okay, so I finished up with the coolant pipe, just cleaning off all the rust. Looks a lot better than what it did. So I'm gonna eventually painting this as well. So all this stuff's all gonna get painted. Now we're gonna work on the upper intake manifold. Oh, sorry, the lower intake manifold. Get it all nice and cleaned up, surfaces all good, and then we're gonna spray this as well. So let's get started. Okay, so I got the intake manifold all finished up. It's all nice and clean. I also cleaned out inside of all the runners as well, and got all the surfaces all nice and flat and cleaned up as well. So it looks pretty good. I don't think I'm gonna paint it just because it looks really good already and it's super clean, so I'm gonna leave it like that. Right now I'm gonna end up painting all these a silver color. I'm gonna paint this. I still gotta clean up the surface real quick, and this one, and then get the rest of these all painted up. And then I'm gonna take the valve covers off. I'm gonna put some paint thinner on them, get all the paint off of them, sand them up real good, and then paint them red again. And then we'll go from there. Okay, so as you can see, I got this all cleaned up and taped, and this is ready for paint now. This is where a thermostat goes into, thermostat housing. And then here's one of the heater core pipes that goes across the block on the top. So that's all ready. Then this pipe connects the lower radiator hose to where the block is, where the thermostat's at. And then here's another heater core pipe that goes off the back of the lower intake manifold. So these are all cleaned up, and I'm gonna start spraying them right now. Okay, so I got all the heated core piping all finished up with, and this is part of the radiator hoses. It's like a little bypass to fit between the belts. And then this is where the thermostat housing is. Everything turned out really good. Definitely pleased with it. So now that I've sprayed all this silverish color, I'm actually going to do my lower intake manifold. I wasn't going to do it at first, but it just looks too good, so I'm going to end up doing it on here as well. So I have it already all taped up where it needs to be, and now I'm going to spray it, and then yeah, I'll show you when I get done. It should look really, really good. But this is kind of how it looks like before. And then I'll show you when I get done. Okay, so the upper intake manifold is all nice and cleaned. It is all taped up and now ready for paint. So I got all the holes where all the bolts go all taped up so paint doesn't get in them, and yeah, she should be ready to go. I'm gonna put a couple coats on top, a couple coats on the bottom, and then yeah, then it'll be done, and then we can move on to the valve covers. But first, let's paint this. Okay, so I forgot to pick up the camera a little bit. I'm working on the valve covers right now, and so here's the first one. It has a couple coats of paint on it, so it's almost done with. I ended up getting it with a Scotch-Brite and sandpaper and stuff like that. I took all the paint off of this one, but that one over there I didn't take all the paint off of. That one I'm just doing Scotch-Brite and sandpaper, just a little bit. This one I also took a wire brush to this one as well. So this one was pretty much bare metal when I started, but it was a pain in the ass. It took forever. So that's why I just kind of did it just to smooth it out and stuff like that. I think it'll be fine. Just doing it that way, because this paint was like super thick on here. It's almost like a chalky paint. It's really weird. It's original paint that came on the car on the valve covers, but like I said, it was just really chalky and stuff like that, and it was really hard to get off, and it took a while to get it all off. But what I was going to do, I was going to wrinkle coat both of these in red, but I couldn't find wrinkle coat anywhere in red, so I'm using caliper paint. Actually, it's thicker paint, so I want it a little bit thicker so it doesn't show all the imperfections, everything like that. It'll look a little bit better in the engine bay. But like I said, this one has a couple coats on it already, and it's actually looking really good. So hopefully this one will turn out the same way, even with me leaving most of the paint on there, just scuffing it up a little bit with the Scotch-Brite and sandpaper. And So it'll just save me a lot more time. But hopefully it'll look as good as this one does. And then once these two are done, I'm gonna end up putting them back on the car and start putting everything back together. Okay, so I'm painting the valve covers while I'm doing this. So I basically got the thermostat in here, got the new gasket. I did put some ultra gray on there as well, just to help seal it up a little bit. And then now I'm gonna put this inside the car and bolt it in there, and I'm gonna start bolting up everything else around it while my valve covers are still being painted. So let's get started on this, and then we should have this back together pretty soon. Okay, little update. I got the thermostat housing in there. Looks really good. I got the heated core pipe that goes all the way back, just like that. I got both pieces back in there. Got gaskets in there. Bolts are tightened up. So that's all good to go. And then what I also did was I put the other part of the heated core pipe on the back of my lower intake manifold right here with that gasket in there as well. So that's all done. And now what I have to do is I have to find the hose that goes in between these two right here. I thought I got a new one. This is your lower radiator hose that goes to your thermostat, and there's a hose that goes in between those two. I thought I grabbed a brand new one, but I don't know if I did or not. So I'm gonna have to look for that real quick, and I'm gonna install that. And then after that, I'm probably going to end up putting the lower intake manifold on and then getting that all buttoned up. Okay, so I got that hose right here. I got another one from AutoZone and then ended up putting it on. So the lower radiator hose is all completely connected to the thermostat housing. And now what I'm doing is test fitting the this hose as well. Goes from the thermostat housing to the upper neck of your lower intake manifold. So I'm just test fitting this hose, make sure it's all the right length and everything like that. It's a little tricky to get on there. You kind of have to put the intake manifold, you have to have it attached to the lower intake manifold. And then while you're putting the intake manifold on, attach the bottom part of it. So I just test fitted it, it fits good. So now I'm gonna take it off, put the hose clamp on it, put it back on, and then start buttoning up this lower intake manifold, which looks really, really good. It's fitting perfect. I already have the two gaskets on there, so I'm just gonna leave the gaskets on there for right now when I take it back out. But yeah, so I'm gonna get those done. My valve covers are all completely finished now. Let me just show you what it looks like, if I didn't already. That's the finished product. They actually turned out a lot better than I thought they did. Not perfect, but you know, it's good enough. So I'm gonna end up putting those on as well, and then just keep putting more and more stuff on, and hopefully I'll get done with it. Okay, so you got the lower intake manifold all torqued down. I put the bolts at 15 foot-pounds. That should be good enough. I don't want to strip anything. And then I already got this valve cover on. It was kind of hard to get on, or it's hard to get past this part right here, so I wasn't filming it. But this is the hardware that we're using. Nice shiny hardware, brand new. So I'll put that all on the valve covers. Already got some of them on there, as you can see. So, and then now I'm just gonna put the other side on and go from there. Oh yeah, also got brand new gaskets for the valve covers as well. Okay, here goes for an update. I got both valve covers on, all brand new hardware. Everything's all been tightened down. For your lower intake manifold, the 2 studs with the nuts on them are supposed to be at 20 foot-pounds of torque, and then the 4 bolts on the outside are only supposed to be at 15 foot-pounds. I hooked up all of the heater core hoses that go in the back, and kind of just cleaned up everything. So now I'm going to put on the upper intake manifold and then start bolting everything to that. Okay, so it's been a while since I updated you. I just tried to get as much done as I possibly could. So basically I got the upper intake manifold on, I got all the bolts all torqued down. The top bolts on here are supposed to be 18 foot-pounds. What I did mess up on at first was you got to make sure your wiring harness lays on top of your intake manifold, not underneath. So I ended up having to kind of take it back off and kind of mess with it and bring it back around so it lays on top. So just make sure you do that. And then I got everything basically plugged back in. I just got to put that back right there. Just got all my hoses on. These are for your coolant hoses that go through and cools your turbo off. Some of these spots you see, those lines are on the charge pipe, or the J pipe if you want to call it. So those will go on last. TPMS sensor is on there. I still got to do my brake booster line right here, which I'm about to do next. But I got my distributor cap back on. All my wires are all plugged back in, all in the correct spots. Pretty much everything's going back together pretty good. So I almost have it all back together now. All brand new hoses, as you can see. Some of the stuff I just had to re-look up to see like where vacuum lines go and stuff like that. But yeah, it's come together. Just a few more hoses. Like I still need to get my fuel lines still hooked up, which I need to go get brand new hoses for that. I haven't done that yet. And then after that, I just need to pretty much put back my cruise control back on there, hook up my throttle cable back up, and hook up one more line right here, which this is also a coolant line. And yeah, that'll probably be about it. And then, oh yeah, I gotta do my upper radiator hose. And then everything should be back together. And then we'll start it and see if she runs good or not. I'm also, once I get it all done, I'm gonna double check everything just to make sure everything's all plugged in the right spots and stuff like that. So I don't have to go around chasing, you know, where a problem is or something like that. But yeah, once I get done with all this stuff, I'll update you one more time and then we'll start it up and see how she runs. Alrighty guys. I got everything back on the motor. Everything's where it's supposed to be at. I got coolant back in here. Basically all the lines all rerouted where they're supposed to go. All the vacuum lines are all where they're supposed to go at. So hopefully this thing will start right up and have no leaks and run just fine. So we will see though. I'm about to turn it on right now and yeah, let's see if this thing starts. Alright, so I already started at one time and took a couple cranks, but then it started right up. There's no leaks at all, which I'm really surprised about, which is a good thing. But yeah, none of the injectors are leaking, none of the coolant hoses are leaking. So yeah, and everything's running like perfectly too, so that means I put all the lines back on correctly. And she's running really good actually. So now all I need to do is take it on a test drive and see how she does out in the street. Alrighty, we're gonna see how she does on the street. This is a cold start. This is actually the next day. Alright, here goes driving. It still has that slight stutter for the first like 15 to 20 seconds you start driving, but after that she runs really smooth. So I'm guessing
the last thing it has to be is the math. That's the only thing I haven't changed on this whole entire car, as far as, you know, this car having some type of hesitation. So that will probably be the next thing I tackle, to try to get that stuttering to stop. But it's literally only the first 15 to 20 seconds. And if I actually let the car sit and warm up for like a good 5 to 10 minutes and then drive it, it doesn't have it. But like what I usually do is I let it sit and warm up for like 3 or 4 minutes and I start driving it, it has that hesitation. But besides that, it runs literally perfect. Nice and smooth. Obviously it's slow, but it has, you know, good power, what power it does have. It's nice and smooth, and it does, you know, feel like accelerating normal. But yeah, it's good running car now, and it's super clean. Engine bay looks so much better. No more grime or, you know, bunch of that oil buildup and gunk in there. I can actually see all my injectors, see my lower intake manifold, and basically see everything that, you know, is inside my motor, so I can actually see if anything's leaking now or whatnot, because it was so bad.
All right, guys, so that's the end of this video. Thanks for watching. Sorry this video took so long to get out. It took, you know, multiple days to actually do everything, because I only get about like an hour or two a day to actually work on the car. So it's not like I'm working on it like at 8 hours of time or anything like that. But it's all done now. It's been running pretty good, except for that little bit of like hesitation that I mentioned before, like the first 15 seconds while driving it. But anyways, so the next video that will come out will probably be another 300ZX video. Probably I'm going to take out my AC compressor and everything like that to give me more room to work inside of the engine bay, and just, you know, it'll take out some weight as well. That AC compressor, it leaks anyway, so it doesn't blow out cold, and I have another vehicle that has AC, so I don't technically need it. I would love to keep it, but it just gets in the way too much, so I'm going to end up taking that out. That will probably be the next video, and then I should have some 370Z content coming out here in the next couple of weeks. I hope you like this video. Like and subscribe. Help out my channel.